Welcome to the first night of the first network for the next century, UPN.
Anybody else remember when TV networks would gamble millions of dollars on brand new shows, only to cancel them faster than you could microwave a Hot Pocket? When launching a new network basically just meant cloning friends, slapping on a different logo, and praying someone would tune in. Yep, that was the glorious 1990s, a decade when the United Paramount Network, or commonly referred to as UPN, tried to beam itself into the big leagues. Paramount had the legacy, they had the Starfleet uniforms, and the confidence backing them of a studio that thought, hey, how difficult could running a network be? Spoiler, very difficult. UPN's debut year looked really promising. Star Trek Voyager took off like a photon torpedo. And everything else? That all crash landed somewhere between creative risk and career-ending tax write-off. UPN was a network dreaming of being the next NBC, but oftentimes looked more like late-night public access TV with slightly better lighting. So today we'll go back and look at some of UPN's wildest attempts at creating the next hit TV show. So grab yourself a Crystal Pepsi, get dialed up on that 56K modem, and join us as we count down 10 of the biggest, weirdest, and most spectacular flops from UPN in the 90s. Because, sometimes television's best stories are the ones that the networks tried to bury at warp speed. Number 10, Platypus Man, 1995.
Platypus, a small egg-laying mammal that attempts to mate frequently but spends most of its time alone. Man, an adult male human. Platypus Man, an adult male human that attempts to mate frequently but spends most of its time alone.
Every network launch needs a flagship sitcom. NBC had Cheers. Fox had Married with Children. UPN had Platypus Man. Comedian Richard Genie got the idea while watching a nature documentary about platypuses and their questionable mating habits, and then decided, that's me. HBO turned it into a special, UPN turned it into a sitcom, and America changed the channel. Genie played a cooking show host for men called Cooking with the Platypus Man. It was basically like if Seinfeld met the Food Network, except all of the jokes were very half-baked and nobody was laughing. Critics claimed the show was competent, which is honestly TV speak for we can't remember anything about it. The network was hoping that Platypus Man would help launch UPN with a comedic bang. Instead, it went out with a polite shrug. 13 episodes of the show aired, 13 episodes were forgotten, and the only thing this platypus cooked up was a reminder that not every stand-up belongs behind a sitcom stove. Number 9, Pigsty, 1995.
Almost finished loading up the truck.
Wow. It's hard to believe after all these years you're moving out.
Yeah. Christine and I are very serious about each other. Moving in together is a token of our deep and very real commitment.
Boy, Johnny, if you feel that way about her, how come you're not getting married?
What if I meet somebody better?
If you thought one failed sitcom about men and dating wasn't enough for UPN's debut year, I got something to tell you. They had two. And somehow, Pigsty made Platypus Man look like Frasier. 5 guys, one tiny New York apartment, endless jokes about dishes, dates, and deodorant. This was supposed to be Friends for people who didn't have friends. There was Tess, the building superintendent who dreams of being an actress. And Randy, one of the roommates who keeps breaking things just to see her. Cute premise. For one scene, not for 13 episodes. Critics described Pigsty as watchable in a background noise kind of way, which is another way of saying it was better on mute. The final episode tried to shock viewers with a "you slept with your dad's fiancée" twist, but nobody was watching to be shocked. The ratings were already dead at that point. In the end, Pigsty and Platypus Man became cautionary tales of UPN's early sitcom era. 2 pilots, 1 network, and a total of 0 laughs. Number 8, Mercy Point, 1998 to 1999.
She's in supraventricular arrhythmia with runs of PVCs.
Okay. Could be sepsis, hypovolemic shock, or PE, but I'm picking up a faint secondary rhythm at close to 200.
Hip, full scope E-play, chest and abdomen.
By the late 90s, UPN did realize one thing. If you can't make people laugh, maybe you can confuse them instead. Enter the show Mercy Point, a sci-fi medical drama set in outer space. Think ER, but with more tentacles. The pitch? A futuristic hospital that treats humans and aliens. The pilot? A computer virus infects people. The vibe? Grey's Anatomy meets The X-Files meets Why Did We Make This? The cast delivered lines about alien anatomy like they were explaining printer errors to one another. And somehow, even the CGI looked like it was sick. The show aired opposite the World Series, which is a network death sentence kind of time slot. Ratings crashed immediately, and the show was put on life support after 3 episodes. UPN did try to revive this show a few months later, but by then it was just too late. Mercy Point has now basically become a trivia answer. Number 7. Homeboys in Outer Space, 1996.
It all began, the true story of 2 good friends. Since the age of 5, it's been their dream to run a starship as a team. When everything was going cool, till a minor mishap in flight school. The body ship went very far, and now they're having fun as homeboys in outer space.
Now we're getting into legend territory. Homeboys in Outer Space, yeah, that was a real title, and yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. 2 space hustlers flying around the galaxy in a souped-up space hoopty, cracking jokes with a sassy onboard computer. Kinda like if House Party met Star Wars, but if both were made on like a Sega Genesis kind of budget. The humor landed somewhere between Saturday morning cartoon and YouTube skit that should have stayed in 1996. Critics eviscerated this show. TV Guide even ranked it among the 50 worst shows of all time. Even die-hard Trekkies couldn't believe it existed, and 2 of them guest starred. James Doohan and George Takei both appeared, presumably wondering what cosmic debt they were repaying. Still, this show managed to run 21 episodes because UPN had a strict policy of maybe it'll get better if we ignore it. And, well, it didn't. The show vanished into rerun oblivion, leaving only one undeniable truth. Homeboys in Outer Space proved that the final frontier could, in fact, be cringe. Number 6. Nowhere Man, 1995 to 1996.
Des 185, what's up?
I got a boonies run for you at 228 South Maple.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's right. That's over the bridge, right?
Straight out 130, about 8 miles.
Okay, I'm on it.
In our opinion, at least, not every UPN flop deserved to crash. Nowhere Man actually had potential. A paranoid, moody thriller starring Bruce Greenwood as a photojournalist who comes back from a bathroom break to discover that he's been erased from existence. His friends don't know him, his wife doesn't recognize him, and the only clue is a mysterious photograph showing soldiers executing prisoners. It was sort of like if The X-Files met The Twilight Zone, and critics actually really liked this show. Some even said it was too smart for UPN, which is probably the most backhanded compliment in TV history. So where was the problem? Well, ratings. The show aired on Monday nights opposite everything people actually watched. By the time the network realized the potential this show had, the audience was already gone. The finale did its best to tie up loose ends before the plug was pulled, which gave viewers something rare for the time. A canceled sci-fi show that actually got a conclusion. Today, Nowhere Man lives on in grainy YouTube uploads and Reddit threads titled, "Wait, am I the only one who remembers this show?" A cult favorite that probably deserved way better. But hey, this was UPN. Deserved better wasn't really in their business plan. Number 5. Legend, 1995 to 1996.
Day for us, eh, Professor? Imagine great author and adventurer Nicodemus Legend coming to live right here in Sheridan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's quite a day.
Picture this. It's the Old West, but instead of outlaws and saloons, you get a novelist and a Nikola Tesla knockoff solving crimes with steampunk gadgets. Pretty cool, right? That's Legend, a show that somehow starred MacGyver himself, Richard Dean Anderson, and still couldn't escape UPN's black hole of obscurity. Anderson played Ernest Pratt, a boozy author forced to impersonate his fictional hero, Nicodemus Legend. Along the way, he teams up with Janos Bartok, a genius inventor who basically exists to say, science did it. Together, they would help townsfolk, foil villains, and prove that even a MacGyver-style problem solver can't fix a broken time slot. Critics gave mixed reception. Some thought it was fun and clever, others thought it was a bad Briscoe County Jr. fanfiction. UPN treated it like filler between reruns of Voyager, and by the time anyone noticed it existed, it was already canceled. In another timeline, Legend probably becomes a cult classic. In this one, though, it's just a trivia question you might get wrong. Number 4, Guys Like Us, 1998 to 1999.
Hey! We really appreciate you helping us out, Jude. You are the best.
The best? Come on, I give up my Friday night to babysit? Oh, and by the way, if he gets anything sticky on me, I get time and a half.
Well, you don't think we're paying you, do you?
In cash?
By late 1998, UPN was desperate to find a hit sitcom. Anything. And so came Guys Like Us, a story about two bachelors who suddenly have to raise a kid. Because if it worked for Full House, why not just remove two uncles and call it an original? Bumper Robinson and Chris Hardwick star as Sean and Jared, two 20-something-year-old roommates whose lives are turned upside down when a 6-year-old named Maestro moves in with them. Cue the laugh track, the life lessons, and the constant feeling that you've seen this before. Because you have. Probably even dozens of times. The show pulled in less than 2.5 million viewers, and that's being generous. Critics noted that little Maestro Harold was the best thing about the show, which was adorable but also damning. By the time UPN canceled it, one episode hadn't even aired. Years later, it randomly surfaced on Crackle, then migrated to YouTube, where it joined the great afterlife of forgotten sitcoms. Number 3, Grown Ups, 1999 to 2000.
All right, Gordo. Throw me the lob. Whoa! What the hell was that? What are you trying to do? You trying to kill the new vice president of regional distribution? You got it? That's right. I am 1/8 up the ladder in that dog-eat-dog world of corrugated boxes. Congratulations.
UPN wanted one thing. A hit sitcom that actually looked like the cool young network they were pretending to be. Enter the show titled Grown Ups, the show that tried to answer the question, what happens when the class clown actually grows up? Spoiler, apparently not much. This was Jaleel White's big comeback, his first series after retiring the suspenders and squeaky catchphrases as Steve Urkel on Family Matters. The premise seemed solid and promising enough. A 20-something-year-old guidance counselor reconnecting with his old friends and trying to navigate adult life. Think Friends, but with more moral lessons and fewer viewers. The ratings tanked faster than you could say, "Did I do that?" And within one season, UPN quietly pulled the plug. Jaleel White later admitted that he'd wanted to reinvent himself, but UPN wasn't the network to do that. The show's most memorable accomplishment is probably teaching the world that sometimes it's better to stay syndicated than trying to start over. Grown Ups was meant to show that UPN could grow up also. Instead, it proved that the network was still trying to figure out how to walk. Number 2, Shasta Mcnasty, 1999 to 2000.
Yeah, Shasta Mcnasty's coming at ya.
By 1999, UPN was basically that kid in class who was doing anything for attention. Enter Shasta Mcnasty, a show that asked, what if Jackass had a laugh track and zero adult supervision? The answer was basically 22 minutes of chaos, confusion, and a title no one wanted to say out loud. Shasta Mcnasty followed 3 wannabe rappers, Dennis, Scott, and Randy, living in Venice Beach and bouncing between schemes, parties, and music gigs that never quite happened. This show starred Jake Busey, fresh off of Starship Troopers, bringing all the manic Busey energy you'd expect. Plus, Carmen Giovinazzo and Dale Godboldo as his equally unhinged bandmates. Together, they formed a hip-hop group so unmarketable, even UPN's promo department couldn't quite figure out what the show was selling. On paper, it was a hip, edgy comedy for the MTV generation. In reality, it was a sitcom fever dream, breaking the fourth wall, inserting random fantasy cutaways, and occasionally switching to black and white for no explainable reason at all. Critics called it the most confusing show on television, which was saying a lot for 1999. The pilot of this show actually earned an Emmy nomination for editing, which is kind of like complimenting the seat upholstery on a crashing plane. UPN rebranded it mid-season to just Shasta, desperately trying to shed that Mcnasty. The ratings, however, didn't notice. After 22 episodes, the network quietly euthanized this show, sending the band, and the brand, into rerun limbo. In the end, Shasta Mcnasty was UPN's attempt to prove that it could be young, wild, and cool. Instead, it proved the network's true superpower, turning every half-decent idea into a full-blown identity crisis. Number 1. The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer, 1998.
Fifth, this entry will be brief. Just when my spirits were at their lowest ebb, Fortune's loving countenance looked upon me when Niblet, my trusted manservant and part-time footrest, happened upon the discovery of a lifetime. President Thomas Jefferson's long-lost journal, in which he discloses the secret location of his most valuable treasure. Okay, so this entry wasn't so brief.
Every network has that one show that they wish they could erase from history. For UPN, that show is The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. This one wasn't just bad, it was infamously so. Set during the Civil War, it followed a black British nobleman who becomes Abraham Lincoln's valet. Sounds harmless enough. Until you realize the show tried to make slavery a punchline. Critics called it offensive, tone-deaf, and what the hell is this? Before the pilot episode could even air, the NAACP protested outside of the UPN headquarters. The network panicked, then shelved the original episode, and then replaced that episode with some sort of telegraph sex scandal kind of storyline that somehow managed to be even more stupid. The whole thing was meant as a Clinton Lewinsky satire, but instead it looked like Blazing Saddles without any of the wit or even self-awareness. 4 whole episodes of this show aired before the plug was pulled. Ratings cratered below 2 million viewers, and the show instantly became a symbol of everything wrong with 90s network TV. Clueless executives, terrible taste, and the belief that any press is good press. Spoiler, that old saying really ain't true. The only legacy this show left behind was becoming a punchline itself. While the Clerks movies were successful, their less successful animated series, titled Clerks the Animated Series, cracked jokes on the secret diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. When another flop of a show is mocking your flop of a show, you've probably achieved true TV infamy. So there you have it, everybody. 10 of UPN's biggest, boldest, and most bewildering flops from the 90s. Proof that even the biggest studios can misfire spectacularly. These failures weren't just cancellations of shows. These were like time capsules of what television looked like when networks didn't even understand their own audiences. Some of them were somewhat ambitious. Some of them were just really bad. And all of them share one thing in common. They make today's streaming cancellations look merciful. So were you one of the people tuning in for Star Trek Voyager and accidentally landing on Platypus Man? Did Legend maybe briefly live in your brain before disappearing like the network that birthed it? Let us know in the comments below. I love talking about these forgotten shows, and now let's talk about the forgotten UPN memories. If you enjoyed this trip through network TV's weirdest decade, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you never miss another nostalgic deep dive. Until next time, everybody, just remember, in the 90s, even a brand new network could boldly go absolutely nowhere.